Discover the hidden crown. Alexander the Great's inspiring journey to become a god in Egypt. Jacob Matthews stood in front of his classroom, feeling a crackling energy in the air. "Discover the hidden crown," he proclaimed, his voice echoing off the walls. He could almost see his students' eyes widen with excitement, but his mind was pulled toward another place: the relentless weight of monthly bills, the palpable disappointment at home. Teaching history in Maplewood, Ohio was not just a job. It was his lifeline. Jacob cherished every moment with his students, each history lesson bringing the past to life in vibrant colors. Yet he felt a deep-seated sense of constraint. How could he inspire these young minds when his own future felt so uncertain? At night, he sat at the kitchen table with his family, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Silent dinners spoke volumes about their struggles. His father, a proud Vietnam veteran, often scoffed at Jacob's passion for teaching. "History won't pay the bills," he would say, the disappointment echoing through the air. With every biting remark, Jacob felt the chasm between them widen. He wanted to show his father the impact of stories, the power they held. But instead, he buried himself deeper into his research on Alexander the Great, one man who fought against the odds and societal expectations, just like Jacob. He didn't expect to uncover old parchments in the library, documents detailing Alexander's fierce determination and the tumult he faced. Each tale beat like a drum in his heart, pushing him to visualize the world through Alexander's eyes, a vibrant tapestry woven through hardship, ambition, and triumph. Those echoes of history paralleled Jacob's struggles. Would he find a way to channel this energy into something more for his students? Rumors began to fly about cutting the history program, and panic gripped Jacob's heart. The council meeting loomed ahead like a storm cloud. He knew he had to present his findings, his history, his passion in front of the townsfolk. It felt like the last stand, not just for his job but for the values he fought to instill in his students. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the town hall buzzed with discontent, Jacob felt a wave of anxiety crash over him. When a council member mockingly referred to his research as fanciful, anger flared inside him. Suddenly, he found himself channeling Alexander's spirit, standing tall against the tide of negativity as the room fell silent. "History shapes our community," he shouted, his voice steady with conviction. "It binds us together, gives us pride, and encourages our youth to strive for greatness." Faces turned, whispers circulated. Could he sway them? At that moment, Jacob caught his father's gaze, a hard expression masking unreadable thoughts. The weight of that silent exchange hung between them like a fragile thread. Here he stood for not just himself, but the community, his family, his students. His voice echoed in the heavy air. "We have a chance to nurture resilience and hope through our shared stories. Will we let them fade away? Would this be the moment that turned everything around?" The question lingered in the room like the uncertainty of Jacob's future, leaving him teetering on the edge of possibility. The room felt electric, every eye locked onto Jacob. He could see a few nods amidst the crowd, their expressions shifting as his words hung in the air. For a fleeting moment, hope sparked in his chest, fueled by the thought that his voice might resonate with these townsfolk. They were listening for now. But then, a familiar voice rang out from the back, a council member he recognized. A man who had always championed sports over arts and education. "It's a nice story, Jacob," he sneered. "But are we really going to invest in stories when kids need jobs?" Jacob's heart sank. That voice echoed the very doubts he had grappled with at home, the fears that kept him awake at night. Was he just indulging in fantasy while the world moved on? But then he remembered Alexander, the boy who became a legend against all odds. He steadied himself, drawing breath deep into his lungs, feeling the room's energy shift as he prepared to respond. History is not just stories, he countered, his voice calm yet firm, building momentum. It's lessons, it's motivation, it's understanding who we are and who we can be. It's about resilience in the face of hardship. A murmur rippled through the audience. He could see parents leaning in, teachers whispering to each other, some even nodding their heads in solidarity. A flicker of realization ignited within him. This wasn't just about history. It was about community, connection, and forging a future where children felt valued and heard. Jacob pressed on, imagine if our kids never learned about those who fought for freedom, who pushed through adversity. Would they know the strength that lies within them? Our students have stories that echo Alexander's. Together we can inspire them. The words poured out like a torrent, fueled by passion and desperation. Behind him, Jacob felt movement. His father stood up, a surprising action that drew the crowd's attention. The distinction of their struggle flashed in that moment, the weight of a soldier's silence juxtaposed against a teacher's plea for acknowledgement. Jacob's chest tightened. Would this be the moment his father chose to back him or retreat into his usual dismissal? Listen, his father's voice boomed, shaking with intensity. I fought for my country. I've seen what people can endure when they have a purpose. We can't lose sight of what teaches strength and resilience. Jacob's right. Our kids need history, they need someone to guide them. The crowd reacted, a wave of murmurs and whispers tumbling through the room, as though springs of hope blasted forth from an unexpected source. Jacob's breath caught, disbelief mixing with gratitude. His father was standing with him, for once, defending an idea that mattered. As applause began to swell, Jacob felt the weight on his shoulders lift slightly. This was only a small victory, but it was theirs shared. The council members' skeptical faces were beginning to soften. Thank you, Jacob said, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. Let us not allow stories to fade into the background. Let us carve out a space for them, for us, for our children's futures. The room buzzed back to life, conversations igniting like fireworks, fueled by newfound energy. The debates began a move toward possibility, toward change. Jacob found himself in the midst of it all, a sense of unity weaving through the voices surrounding him. But as the night wore on, uncertainty crept back in. What if this spark didn't ignite the flames he hoped for? What if this was just a moment? The questions loomed large in his mind, a shadow over the bright spark of hope he had kindled. As Jacob stepped back from the microphone, a young student approached him, eyes alight with inspiration. Mr. Matthews, can I help with the history project? He smiled, warmth spreading through him, but just as quickly, doubt flickered. Could one project truly make a difference? Across the room, his father stayed, watching as the council's decision loomed in the air, its weight feeling heavier than ever. Would the fight be worth it? The tension hung thick as Jacob faced the uncertain future. What would happen when the council voted, and would the fight for his students really be won? The aftermath of the meeting buzzed in Jacob's ears. Voices collided around him, each word forming an overwhelming cacophony of hopes, fears, and aspirations. The energy in the room was palpable. Yet, despite the encouragement swirling through the crowd, doubt gnawed at him. Would this fleeting moment of momentum fade, or could it truly change the tide for education and history? As he caught a glimpse of his father still standing in the corner, Jacob's heart raced. He wanted to rush over, to grasp that momentary bond, to express how much it meant to him. But the weight of the evening's activities anchored him in place. Before he could make a move, a flood of students approached, their bright faces brimming with purpose. Mr. Matthews, one girl beamed, I want to write about women in history. Can I do that for the project? Another chimed in, what if we set up interviews with our grandparents? They have amazing stories. Excitement mixed with his anxiety. Here were the voices that mattered most, the ones he fought for. This was their chance to shine, to tell the stories that had shaped their town and country. He nodded vigorously, feeling a swell of pride at their enthusiasm. Yes, absolutely. We can explore those stories together. he replied, his voice rising above the din. With each suggestion, hope danced through Jacob's veins. Maybe this project was more than just letters on a page. It could be a bridge, connecting generations and sparking a deeper understanding among the students of who they were and where they came from. But just as the excitement began to settle, the reality of the council loomed large again. The memory of the council member's sneering words replayed in his mind. Would this be a futile effort? Would the council dismiss their bright ideas as nothing more than youthful daydreams? Suddenly, a shadow fell over him. It was Mr. Hargrove, the skeptical council member. His expression was a mix of apprehension and curiosity, a rare look for a man known for his unwavering stance. "Jacob," he started, "I'll admit your father's speech caught me off guard." But he hesitated, the weight of his words pressing heavily. "The council is meeting tomorrow. I'm not sure if any of this can change their minds." Jacob nodded, feeling the familiar sense of dread rising. "I get that, but we have to try. If we can show them the impact these stories can have, they might listen." His determination shook the air like a thunderstorm brewing. In the face of Mr. Hargrove's scrutinizing gaze, he added, "We can prove that education isn't just about jobs. It's about forming a community of thinkers, dreamers, and fighters." As other students chimed in with their ideas, Mr. Hargrove's facade began to crack. Jacob could almost see the flicker of interest in the older man's eyes. This could be the start of a shift, even beyond these walls. Before he could share another thought, the bell rang, a sharp reminder that the evening was coming to an end. As students began to mill about, laughter filled the air, a sound Jacob had almost forgotten amidst the tense discussions. For the first time that night, he felt a lightness, a glimmer of an idea that maybe this was possible. Yet just as the feeling settled, a dread formed in his stomach. Tomorrow was the day of the council's vote. Would they see the value, or would it all come crashing down? He glanced at his father again, who seemed to be looking at him with a new light in his eyes, pride mixed with a hint of worry. Jacob's heart raced. He needed to prepare to rally support. As he gathered his thoughts and the students around him, Jacob realized that perhaps history wasn't just about the past. It was about shaping a future that rested on the delicate balance between voices raised and answers delivered. With a deep breath, he resolved to give it everything he had. Would the community rally behind him in this fight? Tomorrow the truth would unfold one way or another. Jacob stood just outside the bustling school, the chill of the evening creeping in around him. He watched as students spilled out like a tide, their chatter filling the air with optimism. Yet in his heart, an unsettling knot twisted tighter. Tomorrow meant the council's decision, a verdict that could shatter their dreams or lift them to new heights. "Mr. Matthews," called out a familiar voice. It was Sarah, one of the students who had sparked the excitement during the meeting. Her brown hair danced in the breeze, and her eyes shone with determination. "Are we still doing the project together? I've been writing down interview questions all night." "Of course," Jacob replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's going to be great. Your questions will dig deep." She smiled, a bright light cutting through his worries. But he couldn't shake the weight on his shoulders. How did he rally everyone's energy into something tangible? "Can I ask you something?" Sarah's tone shifted, softer now. "What if they say no?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy like fog. He clenched his fists, inhaling sharply. If they say no, we can't give up. We'll keep telling our stories. We'll keep pushing until they have to listen." Her brows furrowed for a brief second. Then she nodded resolutely. "We can start a blog, document everyone's stories, and share them online. What if we go viral?" Jacob felt a flicker of hope ignite again. Yes, a blog could reach so many people. "You're onto something." As they brainstormed, more students gathered around, bright-eyed with dreams of sharing their tales. Each new idea, each laugh, chipped away at the fear lodged in Jacob's chest. Perhaps, just maybe, their collective voice could be stronger than the shadows of doubt. But the weight of the council's decision loomed over him, a dark cloud he couldn't ignore. As the sun began to set, casting orange and pink hues across the sky, A familiar face approached his father. "Jacob," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I was just speaking to Mr. Hargrove. He seemed reconsiderative after the meeting. Do you think there's hope?" Jacob swallowed hard. Fear twisted with excitement within him. "I want to believe so, but we need to show them that the stories matter. That the students matter." His voice trailed off. His father placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're doing great, son. Just remember, sometimes victory lies in the journey, not just the outcome." His heart swelled with warmth. It wasn't just about getting a yes. It was about fostering hope and connection. His mind raced back to the students buzzing with ideas, the thrill of excitement radiating through the room. "Thanks, Dad. I really needed that." Jacob offered a smile, finding strength in the moment. As they glanced back at the crowd, the joy was infectious. The topics they could explore, the stories they could tell. Jacob imagined the walls of their community bursting open, showcasing the rich tapestry of their shared history. But just then, Jacob spotted Mr. Hargrove again, standing off to the side, his expression a mixture of contemplation and concern. What if he's thinking of how to shut them down? Jacob wondered, his pulse quickening. His father seemed to sense his shift in mood. "Keep that fire alive. You're more powerful than you realize," he whispered before stepping back. Tomorrow's vote felt like a critical moment approaching, and with it, the weight of hope hung heavily on Jacob's shoulders. Deep breath, gather everyone. Be ready. As the students around him buzzed with plans for the night, Jacob's heart beat with purpose. He might not know what awaited them in the council's decision, but he was determined to make sure their voices were heard. What would happen when they all faced the council together? Would his father's words spark the change they so desperately needed, or would it be the end of their journey before it truly began? The sun rose slowly the next morning, casting a golden haze across the sleepy town. Jacob could feel an electric buzz in the air, the kind that matches the anticipation of a storm. He stood in front of the school, tension coiling tighter around his chest. Today was the day. The day their futures could pivot on the edge of a single vote. As he stepped inside, the hallways pulsed with energy. Students huddled together, excited whispers swirling around him. Posters plastered along the walls, adorned with slogans and colorful art, called for their stories to be shared. It was a visual celebration of their hopes. Jacob smiled at the enthusiasm surrounding him, but the knot in his stomach tightened further. He made his way to the gym where they had organized a group meeting. The chairs formed a loose circle, full of eager faces including Sarah, who animatedly reviewed notes she had created overnight. "Jacob, you won't believe this," she said as he took a seat. "I spoke with Mia, and she has video clips of her grandmother's stories. We can include that to highlight family legacies." "That's brilliant, Sarah," Jacob marveled. He looked around the room. "Okay, everyone, we need to focus on our message. What are we aiming to convey to the council?" Voices floated in the air, ideas sparking like Flint: community, heritage, strength in diversity. Jacob felt the weight of responsibility ripple through him, pushing him like a wave. When he asked for a volunteer to present their ideas to the council later, hands shot up. The students were ready to fight for what mattered. But beneath the battlefield chatter, fear crept in. What if Mr. Hargrove had made up his mind? What if, despite all their passion, they were still ignored? Even as he prompted discussions, the uncertainty loomed. "Hey, Jacob," Sarah said, glancing at him with concern. "Do you really think they'll listen?" "I have to believe they will," he replied, trying to infuse his answer with confidence he didn't completely feel. "If we bring our stories to life, it'll be hard to ignore. Our voice is powerful, we just need to show them that." The group fell silent, each student caught in their own thoughts for a moment. The room was filled with emotion, the weight of their shared aspirations pressing upon them. One by one, the true stakes of their fight settled in. This was about more than just a project. It was their chance to claim a corner of their identity. As the meeting began to wind down, a soft knock scratched against the doorframe. It was Jacob's father, standing tall but with shadows beneath his eyes. The room hushed instantly. Everyone, I just wanted to share a quick reminder, he said, voice steady despite the palpable tension. Whatever the outcome today, you all have made something beautiful together. You've created a community, and that's something no one can ever take away from you. The air buzzed with a mix of gratitude and trepidation. As he stepped back, Jacob's heart raced. They suddenly had a small army behind them, eager and ready to stand together. With a definitive nod, Jacob rose to his feet. All right, it's time to head to the council. We're ready. Let us do this. Walking alongside his fellow students, he noticed Sarah's hand reach for his, squeezing gently. It ignited a warmth that spread through him, hope bubbling just beneath the surface. As they moved toward the council building, Jacob's heart pounded like a drum, almost drowning out the sounds around him. Would their voices rise above the council's noise? Would they break through the barriers that had held them back for so long? The doors swung open, and the buzz of voices escalated within. Jacob took a deep breath. This was the moment they worked for. They were going to fight for their dreams, no matter what. But as they stepped inside, a figure loomed nearby, Mr. Hargrove's expression unreadable. What was going through his mind? The tension thickened like fog. Caught between hope and fear, Jacob's voice trembled as he approached the council table. What would they decide? Would they embrace their stories or silence their dreams once again? The atmosphere inside the council room was charged, almost electric. Jacob's eyes darted around, taking in the faces of the council members. Each one was stern, their expressions a mix of skepticism and mild interest. He could feel the warmth of Sarah's hand reassuring him, grounding his racing thoughts. Yet, the pang of uncertainty still lingered, nesting in his gut. Mr. Hargrove leaned forward, fingers steepled under his chin. You may begin, he said, his voice deep and firm, echoing off the high walls. Jacob felt the council's gaze turn to him, each pair of eyes scrutinizing him as if they expected him to fail. Heart thumping wildly, he stepped forward, glancing at his classmates who stood behind him, a united front. Suddenly, all their smiling faces and fervent energy surged through him. With another deep breath, Jacob lifted his chin and spoke, his voice trembling at first but steadily gaining strength. Good afternoon, honorable council members. Today, we stand before you not just as students but as the voice of our community, our stories, our hopes. He glanced at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. We believe it's essential to honor our heritage, to recognize our diverse backgrounds and the legacies that shape who we are. As he continued, he felt the room's energy shift slightly. Faces softened, the skepticism easing just a bit. Jacob's confidence soared as he recounted tales of his friend's Mia's grandmother's journey from her homeland, Sarah's family bakery that had been passed down through generations, and his own father's sacrifices to provide better opportunities. With every personal story, the narrative wove tighter, creating a tapestry filled with struggles, resilience, and ultimately, triumph. Each tale resonated with truth and vulnerability, connecting to the larger message they aimed to communicate. Jacob mentioned the videos, the artwork, and all the effort his peers had poured into this cause. We believe these stories, our stories, matter. They are not just words or events, they are the heartbeat of our community. Jacob concluded, feeling as if he had left a piece of himself on the table. We ask you to listen, to recognize, and to support us in honoring them. A hushed moment followed, teetering on the edge of silence. Jacob's breath caught as he waited for a response. The council members exchanged glances, whispering quietly amongst themselves. Anxiety crawled back into Jacob's throat. Then, Mr. Hargrove raised a hand to quiet them, his face still unreadable. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you all for sharing. You bring passion and vigor. But Jacob's heart sank. The butt felt heavier than lead, as if it anchored him further down. What could they possibly say after such an earnest plea? Mr. Hargrove continued, we have indeed appreciated your narratives. But what is unclear is how this translates into actionable changes within our school and community programs. We must also consider the budget constraints and the commitment this will require moving forward. Jacob felt the floor drop beneath him, as if the ground had been pulled away. The council's words hung thick in the air, twisting hope into confusion. Budget? Commitments? Sarah whispered, her grip tightening. Jacob's mind raced as he processed their response. What did this mean? Wasn't he passionate enough? Let us consider what support looks like, Jacob said, his voice firm despite the tremor trembling within. What if we host community events? This can be a starting point to create dialogues that promote understanding and inclusion. Several council members leaned in, interest flickering in their eyes. Was it enough? Had he found a crack in the wall? Jacob held his breath, waiting for a glimpse of what could come next. As the council deliberated, he glanced at Sarah, seeing the same mix of determination and doubt mirrored back at him. Would they seize the chance to be heard? Or was this moment slipping away despite their best efforts? Just then, a whisper of laughter broke through from the crowd of students, a reminder of their shared connection and unwavering support. Jacob's heart swelled, igniting the spark inside him once more. They would not give up. Let us make them listen, he said quietly, his fingers wrapping around Sarah's once more. He understood now that this fight was about more than just their projects. It was about unearthing the courage within them. But as he faced the council again, Mr. Hargrove's expression morphed into something else, a hint of respect. Perhaps? Could this be a turning point? A moment passed like an open question, and Jacob's heart raced. Would they see the value in their stories? Or was there still a mountain left to climb? The council members remained huddled in whispered discussions, their murmurs adding to the tension in the room. Jacob's anticipation swirled into impatience. He wanted answers, and he wanted them now. Had they heard him? Had they felt the pulse of his words? Mr. Hargrove finally set his steepled hands on the table, leaning back slightly. Young people, he began, his voice resonating with a newfound tone. This isn't just about your stories. It's about their impact. You are asking us for change, but we need a plan that aligns with our goals not just for today, but for future generations. Jacob clasped his hands together, heart pounding as he fought to keep his words steady. We have ideas, working events, workshops. We can bring in speakers, create an ongoing platform for dialogue. Not just one moment, but a sustained effort to cultivate understanding and community. He paused, searching the faces of the council, looking for any sign of acknowledgement. Sarah's eyes met his, a fierce fire sparking within them. We're committed. We've already started planning, she added, stepping forward a little. We want to show the council that we are ready to put in the effort to make this succeed. The council's gaze shifted, intrigued but still cautiously skeptical. There was an unmistakable shift. It felt like the air grew lighter, just for a moment. One council member, a woman with silver-streaked hair, spoke up. And what are you proposing for funding if we were to consider this? Jacob paused again, a rush of thought colliding in his mind. We could fundraise. Community bake sales, cultural fairs, partnerships with local businesses who believe in our cause. Anything to show our dedication. The words flowed freely now, they felt real, tangible. If you believe in your community, others will too, Sarah chimed in, her excitement matching Jacob's. It's not just about the money. It's about the investments in relationships, the shared experiences. Mr. Hargrove seemed to absorb this, nodding slowly. The council's collective eyes softened even further, drawing a sliver of hope through the room. But then, a voice from the back spoke as uncertain as it was brave. What if the community doesn't want this? What if they don't care? It was Alex, a quiet student whose input was rare but valued. Jacob felt that pang of self-doubt again, colder this time. What if Alex was right? What if they were fighting for something that no one else even valued? We can make them care, Jacob insisted, thrusting his chin up defiantly. We will invite everyone to participate. Let them see how their stories connect with ours. Everyone deserves a voice. The room leaned in, and the council members exchanged glances, weighing their thoughts. Jacob locked eyes with Mr. Hargrove. There was a flicker of something, a connection forged in determination. Let us bring your proposal to a vote, Mr. Hargrove finally announced, taking a deep breath. Jacob's heart skipped. But you must go away today with a clear plan. We'll need to see detailed logistics, plans for outreach, and resources lined up before we can formally support this. The council's decision hung in the air before resonating through Jacob like a vibration on a guitar string. He turned to his classmates, their faces a mixture of shock and exhilaration. "We can do this. We need to act quickly," he exclaimed, adrenaline pumping through his veins. There was a nodding chorus of agreement behind him. As they began to strategize, Jacob realized that the real battle was just starting. They had snagged a moment of attention, but could they sustain the momentum? He glanced outside the window, the sunlight flooding into the room. This was a chance, a golden opportunity to change the narrative of their community. But doubt lingered like a shadow. Would they truly be able to rally everyone together? Jacob felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. In that moment of realization, he turned back toward the council. "This is just the beginning. We're ready for the challenges ahead. We won't let our stories fade." A pact had formed among them, yet as his heart swelled with purpose, a new question pushed its way forward. How would they invite the skeptics into the fold? Jacob took a deep breath, ready to tackle the next step. What if those who doubted could be transformed into the loudest advocates of their cause? Jacob and his classmates gathered in their usual corner of the cafe, a place that buzzed with chatter and the clinking of coffee cups. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting warm rays across crumpled papers and half-drunk sodas. It felt like they were stepping into the unknown, with ideas spiraling and excitement humming in the air. "We have to break this down," Sarah said, tapping her pen against her notepad. "What do we need to focus on first?" Her determination was like a compass guiding the group. Jacob nodded, feeling a fire ignite inside him. "Outreach. We need to reach everyone. The skeptical ones, the ones who might not even know their essay problem." "But how?" Alex's voice wavered slightly, hardly audible over the bustle of the cafe. He was typically quiet, but something had shifted in him after the council meeting. "How do we make them care? They won't just show up because we ask them to." A moment of silence hung heavy as everyone considered his words. It was true. Actions needed to resonate. What if we created something tangible? A project that people could see and feel? Sarah suggested. How about a community mural? Something that tells our stories visually? Jacob's heart raced at the thought. A mural could become a landmark, a canvas that would invite voices from every corner. We could hold an open event where community members paint their own sections. Could be a celebration of who we are. The idea began to take shape in his mind, bursting with color and creativity. "But we need supplies, and we have to find a wall we could use." Alex trailed off, his uncertainty creeping back into the conversation. "Let us reach out to local businesses. We can explain our vision. Many of them want to give back." Sarah beamed, excitement replacing doubt. The atmosphere shifted, and Jacob could feel the energy swell in the group. "We can offer promotions for the businesses that contribute too." It's a win-win. Plans kicked into gear as laughter and brainstorming filled the air. Jacob could hardly believe the camaraderie that formed. The new idea felt contagious. People were leaping to their feet, bouncing suggestions off one another. They were no longer just students. They were activists, artists, and hopefuls, ready to face the world head-on. Yet underneath it all, doubt flickered within him. He could hear Alex's voice echoing in his mind. What if no one cared? What if the mural served only as a backdrop to emptiness? But every voice in the room added a layer of possibility, weaving together a rich tapestry of community stories. "Okay, so we need a date," Jacob said, trying to steer them. "And we should start spreading the word right away. Flyers, social media, maybe even a video campaign." Sarah clapped her hands, her enthusiasm infectious. "We could film people talking about what the community means to them." As the ideas flowed, the fear of failure waned. They were investing energy into something bigger than themselves, something real, like casting seeds into the soil. The plan began to crystallize, but there was still a nagging anxiety. With the date set for their first meeting about the mural, Jacob couldn't shake the feeling of impending pressure. Would the community really come together as they envisioned? Let us make this mural mean something powerful, he said, pulse quickening once more. Something that can spark conversations. The group continued to fine-tune their ideas, laughter spilling over the seriousness that had reigned just hours before. But as they wrapped up and prepared to take their first steps, one question hung in Jacob's mind like a flickering light. What if the stories they uncovered were more powerful than they'd ever anticipated? With that thought swirling in his heart, Jacob pushed away from the table, ready for a journey that might change everything, and hoping for the best from uncertain minds. But would they really be ready for the truths the mural might reveal? The day of the mural meeting dawned with an electric anticipation. Jacob could feel the buzz in his chest as he arrived at the community center, the echoes of his classmates' laughter sparking memories of their brainstorming session just a few days ago. With each step, he wondered how this gathering would unfold. Would people show up? Would they care? Inside, the room was lined with tables draped in colorful tablecloths, and supplies were scattered everywhere: paints, brushes, and large sheets of paper for sketches. He caught sight of Sarah, who was chatting animatedly with a few newcomers. Her excitement was magnetic, drawing people in like moths to a flame. "Hey, Jacob!" She waved him over, her smile brightening. "I think we might actually pull this off. Look at all the people." Jacob scanned the room and felt a wave of hope surge through him. Faces both familiar and new filled the space, each radiating a sense of purpose. He approached Sarah, who was handing out sign-up sheets while giving out hugs and high-fives to those who walked in. "Can you believe this?" she asked with sparkling eyes. "We've got a bunch of artists from school and some folks from the neighborhood. Even Mr. Thompson from the grocery store said he'd donate supplies." As more people trickled in, Jacob felt a rush of adrenaline. But standing in the center of all this energy, something gnawed at him. The voice of doubt crept in again. What if everyone left just as quickly when the excitement faded? "Hey, Alex!" Jacob called as he spotted his quiet friend sitting at the back, looking a bit overwhelmed. "Come join us." Alex looked up and hesitated, then nodded slowly, making his way over. "I just didn't want to crowd you guys," he mumbled, but Jacob could see a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. As the meeting began, Sarah took charge. "All right, everyone. We want to create a mural that represents our community. Let us share our ideas and stories." She handed the floor to different voices, sparking discussions that became a cacophony of thoughts, memories, and hopes. It sent shivers down Jacob's spine. People talked about their origins, their dreams, and the struggles they faced. Each story wrapped around him like a soft blanket, full of history and resilience. It was more than just paint on a wall. It was a chance to connect on a level that transcended their differences. Suddenly, a voice cut through the chatter. It was Ms. Rivera, an elderly woman from the neighborhood. "I remember when this place was brimming with life. This time we brought back that spark. I have stories to tell, of joy and of loss. The mural should reflect our journey," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Jacob felt a lump catch in his throat. He had expected walls of paint, but not the walls of history and heart she had just described. Her words were raw and honest, chipping away at his doubts. One by one, more voices joined in, sharing their tales, and each time they spoke, it felt like they were crafting something monumental. Jacob's heart swelled with pride and responsibility. This was the spark he had hoped for. As they wrapped up, a palpable energy hummed through the air. Smiles were shared, hands were clapped, and promises were made. Jacob couldn't help but feel exhilarated. They were finally building bridges connecting with not just paint but with their very souls. But as he looked at Alex's thoughtful face, he couldn't shake the question that bubbled up within him. Would these stories resonate as they intended? Would they bring the community together in a way they never imagined? With this thought lingering heavily in his mind, Jacob knew they were on the brink of something powerful. Would they be ready to face the truths that lay ahead as they opened themselves up to the stories that would shape their mural and ultimately, their community? The sun set on the day of the mural, painting the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks colors that matched the energy of excitement and anxiety swirling through Jacob's chest. They had worked tirelessly, combining stories, designs, and hopes. But now, as they gathered one last time before the big reveal, his mind buzzed with questions. Would the community embrace their vision? Would the mural speak as they hoped it would? As the group assembled in front of the blank wall, he could feel the weight of anticipation in the air. Each student and community member had contributed a piece of themselves, but standing before the untouched surface made it feel real, almost monumental. Today is about celebration, Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chatter. This mural is our combined story. Every brushstroke will hold a memory, a dream. Jacob nodded, heart racing. He looked at the wide-eyed crowd. Families, neighbors, and friends had shown up, each face filled with curiosity and expectation. It was more than Jacob had hoped for. This wasn't just a canvas. It was a testament to everything they stood for, a beacon for unity and resilience. Together, we'll make history come alive, Jacob called out, stepping forward to share his heart. This isn't just our mural. It's a part of each one of you. The stories we tell today will echo through generations. Let us paint our dreams. With cheers erupting, the students grabbed paintbrushes and palettes. Laughter filled the air, mingled with enthusiasm as hands danced across the surface of the wall, splashing it with color and emotion. Their parents joined in, wading through paint and memories. As the mural began to form, Jacob was struck by how every stroke represented a shared experience, a grandfather's tale of hardship, a mother's pride, a child's laughter. Each layer became richer, telling a story of a community woven from diverse threads, some bright, some muted, but all essential. As they painted, discussions sparked between friends who had never spoken much before. Each conversation blossomed as people shared snippets of their pasts that fed into the mural. A boy excitedly explained how his great-grandmother migrated and the traditions she brought with her, while others added encouraging whispers of camaraderie and understanding. Yet, amid the joy, Jacob stole glances at Alex, who was absorbed in his corner, focused intently on his section of the mural. But this time, there was a fire in his eyes. Jacob could sense that he no longer felt invisible. He was a crucial part of something enormous. With each voice echoing tales rich with love and struggle, Jacob felt the last threads of doubt unravel. Could it be that they were on the cusp of igniting change, crafting the future they dreamed of through art and community? Hours passed like seconds, and before Jacob knew it, the sky had faded into twilight. The mural was almost complete, and lights strung around the area highlighted the vivid colors that now danced across the wall. Joyful greens, bold blues, passionate reds, each hue a story, and all a community's heartbeat. As they prepared to wrap up for the day, Sarah stepped forward to reveal their final surprise. In a few moments, we will unveil this mural to the community. We invited a few local news reporters, and our hope is to draw attention to our stories. Let us show everyone what we've created. A wave of nervousness swept through Jacob, but he swallowed it back. He glanced at Alex, and with a nod of assurance, pushed his anxious thoughts aside. This was beyond their initial vision. It was about sharing their journey, igniting dialogues, and invoking pride in their heritage. The group took a collective breath, fingers on the tarp that covered the mural. It felt like a moment suspended in time. As Sarah counted down, Jacob felt something shift within him, a surge of belief in their power as a united community. 3, 2, 1. With one swift motion, they unveiled the mural. Gasps of awe echoed as vibrant colors splashed into view, vividly depicting their stories, a rich landscape of experience and hope. From warriors of heritage to peaceful narratives winding through the canvas, it was a piece meant for everyone in their community. Cheers erupted, voices rising like a living wave. Faces lit up with recognition, love, and understanding. Jacob felt warmth fill his chest as parents beamed with pride, and students celebrated their triumph over self-doubt. They had done it. But just then, his father stepped forward, taking in the mural's beauty, and for a second, Jacob held his breath. Would he understand? His expression shifted, eyebrows briefly rising before he turned to Jacob, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. Son, I didn't realize how powerful stories could be, how they can bring people together, his father said, voice thick with emotion. You've shown me. Jacob watched the spark of new understanding flicker through his father, and it forged a bond between them that he longed for. In that moment, it felt like they were standing on solid ground together at last. As the crowd cheered, Jacob's heart swelled. This was their community, and they had just begun to unleash the power of their tales. With the walls now painted with a rich history, they would rally together, weaving stories that thrived, not fading away, but pushing through into a future filled with promise. The world outside might throw obstacles, but here was proof that they could overcome, stitch together, and rise as one. Jacob stood in the warmth of kinship, the vibrant mural behind him gleaming like a beacon of hope. Let us keep this conversation going, he urged the crowd, sparking renewed excitement. Let us honor our stories and fuel our dreams. This is just the beginning. We can achieve great things together. As laughter echoed around him, Jacob knew their fight would extend beyond this moment. Today, they forged an incredible collective transformation, and with it, they had sparked the light that would guide them all forward. As he stepped back, filled with pride, Jacob turned to each face around him, knowing they were now part of a beautiful legacy. The heart of the community pulsed once more, and together they would ignite the flames of change, one story at a time. Now, if you felt the power of this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this energy alive. I want to hear from you, so please comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can uplift voices and create a wave of change in our communities.